Power is not control. It's not fear. Real power, lasting power, is influence. And influence begins with self-mastery. Most men try to gain power over women by chasing, begging, pleasing, or pretending. But none of that works long-term. Why? Because power cannot be given. It must be built. And the first place to build it is within yourself. A man who controls his emotions, his desires, and his destiny, becomes the kind of man women can't ignore. You want power over her attention? Be a man who doesn't need it. You want power over her emotions? Learn to stay calm while others react. You want power over her loyalty? Become so disciplined, so purpose-driven, so rare, that she feels honored just to be part of your life. Remember, a woman doesn't fall for a man who tries to impress her. She falls for the man who impresses himself daily. Power is not loud. It's quiet strength. Power is not reactive. It's intentional. Power is not in controlling others. It's in commanding yourself. The moment you stop seeking power over her, and instead build power within, you become the kind of man no woman ever forgets. True power begins with self-mastery. It doesn't come from dominance over others, but from deep control over yourself, your thoughts, your impulses, your habits, and your emotional reactions. It's easy to believe that if you can control a woman's interest, affection, or behavior, then you are powerful. But real power is when you no longer need to. When your presence, your discipline, and your energy speak louder than your words, you've already gained the kind of influence that can't be faked. Most men waste time trying to change others when they haven't yet conquered themselves. They want power in relationships, but they haven't mastered their own insecurities. They want to lead, but they still follow their urges. They want respect, but they haven't built the kind of internal character that commands it. You can't lead someone emotionally, mentally, or spiritually until you've led yourself through fire. That means doing hard things without recognition. That means keeping your word when nobody's watching. That means staying calm when every part of you wants to explode. That's self-mastery, and that's the beginning of true power. A man who has mastered himself becomes rare. He stands out. While other men are constantly reacting, to women, to rejection, to fear, he stays grounded. He becomes a source of stability in a chaotic world. And women feel that. Whether she's aware of it or not, a woman instinctively respects a man who is in control of himself. She may not always agree with him, but she'll trust him. She'll listen more. She'll lean in, because deep down, she knows he doesn't need her to feel whole. Self-mastery means you can walk away, not out of ego, but out of strength. You don't tolerate disrespect because you don't have to. You don't get pulled into games because you're already fulfilled. You don't break down under pressure because you've trained your mind to remain steady. And that kind of man, who doesn't flinch, doesn't chase, and doesn't beg, holds immense psychological power. Not because he forces others to obey him, but because he makes them want to follow him. When you've mastered yourself, everything changes. You speak less, but your words carry weight. You stop competing with other men, because you've already outgrown the noise. You stop trying to impress women, because you're already proud of who you are. And that's what draws people in. Power is not about shouting. It's about stillness. It's about walking into a room and shifting the energy without needing to prove a thing. This kind of internal power makes you unpredictable, and that unpredictability creates fascination. A man who reacts the same way every time is easy to figure out and easy to manipulate. But a man who governs himself, who moves with calm intention, who can't be provoked unless he chooses to be, that man is dangerous in the best way. Not dangerous to her, but dangerous to the world's attempts to weaken him. That's the foundation. Until you've mastered yourself, you're not ready to lead, to love, or to truly influence anyone. But once you do, everything changes. Stop seeking external validation. The moment you depend on someone else's approval to feel valuable, you've given away your power. Most people spend their lives trying to be liked, noticed, admired, or accepted. They adjust who they are just to fit someone else's expectations. They dress a certain way, talk a certain way, post certain things online, all to receive a momentary hit of attention that fades as quickly as it comes. And yet, they wonder why they feel empty. It's because they've built their self-worth on something fragile, the opinions of others. When you need constant reassurance, you become predictable. You become easy to manipulate. A woman can sense it instantly when a man is craving validation. He's the guy who overtexts, who apologizes for his own strength, who seeks permission instead of taking the lead. That kind of man never holds real influence. He becomes emotionally dependent on the people he's trying to impress. And once a woman sees that, the attraction dies. Respect fades. Because if you don't respect yourself first, no one else will. The man who stops seeking external validation starts moving differently. He doesn't say what's popular, he says what's true. He doesn't chase after praise, he works in silence. He doesn't need everyone to understand his path, because he understands it himself. That level of self-assurance makes people lean in. It makes them curious. It makes them wonder, what does he know about himself that I don't? That mystery, that quiet confidence, is more powerful than any words or performance. When you free yourself from the need to be liked, you become dangerous, in the best way. You become immune to manipulation. You stop adjusting your behavior just to keep someone's attention. If she pulls away, you don't chase. If she tests you, you don't flinch. Because your value isn't up for negotiation. You've already decided who you are. And that kind of man is rare. He doesn't react out of fear. He responds out of purpose. Validation that comes from others is temporary. It fades. It's addictive. You'll always need more of it, and you'll never feel like enough without it. But when validation comes from within, when it's built on discipline, action, and self-respect, it becomes unshakable. You no longer need applause to move forward. You no longer need compliments to feel confident. You no longer need someone to want you in order to feel worthy. Ironically, the moment you stop trying to be liked is often the moment you become more attractive. Why? Because people are drawn to certainty. They're drawn to people who know who they are and don't apologize for it. When you stop proving yourself, when you stop seeking attention, when you stop needing to be seen, you become magnetic. You stop being the one who needs something and become the one others want to figure out. That's power. And it starts when you stop chasing validation and start owning your value, quietly, firmly, and completely. Emotional control is magnetic. It's one of the most underrated but powerful qualities a man can develop. In a world where everyone is reacting, angry at comments, triggered by texts, offended by silence, the man who remains calm stands out. He becomes the anchor in the storm. When others lose their grip, he holds the line. And that kind of composure doesn't go unnoticed, especially by women. Because when a man can control his emotions, he signals strength, maturity, and leadership. Most men believe that showing how much they care through constant emotional displays will win her heart. But the opposite is often true. Overexposing your feelings too soon, getting jealous too fast, or becoming frustrated when things don't go your way doesn't come off as passion, it comes off as instability. And instability is the opposite of attraction. A woman may be entertained by emotional chaos, but she will never feel safe in it. What she truly craves, whether she admits it or not, is the man who can feel deeply, but still stay in control. Emotional control doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means being aware of what you feel and choosing how to respond instead of reacting on impulse. That choice is where your power lies. When someone disrespects you, you don't explode. When she pulls back, you don't panic. When life hits hard, you don't collapse, you adapt. That calm response tells the world that you are rooted in something deeper than mood swings or validation. And it draws people to you. They begin to trust you. They lean on you. Because your presence feels like peace in a noisy world. Most people are slaves to their emotions. They say things they regret. They chase people they shouldn't. They act out of fear, jealousy, or insecurity. But a man who has mastered his emotions cannot be easily manipulated. He doesn't chase approval or fold under pressure. If she tests him, he smiles. If she tries to make him jealous, he doesn't react. Not because he doesn't care, but because he's already decided that his emotions belong to him, not to anyone else. There's a silent respect that grows when a woman knows she can't shake you. It doesn't mean being passive. It means being powerful enough to choose patience over panic, clarity over chaos. She might push, she might pull, but if you stay grounded, she'll feel something most men never give her: stability. That's when she lets her guard down. That's when she opens up. Not to the man who cries on the first date or explodes when things don't go his way, but to the one who makes her feel safe by showing he can handle whatever comes. Emotional control is magnetic because it's rare. It's a mark of a man who has faced his demons, not escaped them. It shows he has nothing to prove and no one to impress. He's not pretending to be calm, he is calm. And that calmness becomes a silent force that people are drawn to, over and over again. Purpose is irresistible. A man who lives with purpose carries a different kind of energy. You can feel it when he enters the room. He doesn't chase approval. He doesn't waste time. He moves with quiet intensity, and everything he does seems to matter. That's because he's not just existing, he's becoming. And that energy is magnetic. When a man has a mission, a direction, a reason bigger than himself, people naturally want to be around him. Especially women. Because purpose is one of the deepest signals of masculine strength. Most men wander through life unsure of who they are or what they want. They drift from one distraction to the next, hoping something, or someone, gives them a sense of meaning. But a man without purpose becomes dependent on others to feel fulfilled. He makes a woman his goal. He makes her attention his reward. And the moment she senses that he's living for her instead of something higher, the dynamic collapses. Because no woman wants to be your everything. She wants to be a part of something greater that you're building. A man with purpose doesn't need to chase. He's already in motion. His life is full. His mind is focused. His time is valuable. And that makes him rare. While other men are busy trying to impress her, he's too busy building something impressive. That doesn't mean he ignores her, it means she has to earn a place in his life, because his life already has weight, direction, and momentum. He isn't waiting for a relationship to complete him. He's already complete, and that makes her want to be part of the story. Women are drawn to men who know where they're going. It's not about money or status, it's about drive. When you wake up every day with something to fight for, something to grow toward, you become a source of inspiration. And that inspiration turns into attraction. She wants to be around the fire. She wants to feel what it's like to be close to a man who refuses to settle, who's hungry, who's becoming more every day. Because deep down, she knows a man like that won't be easy to replace. Purpose gives your words power. It gives your silence meaning. It makes your standards non-negotiable. When a man has a purpose, he doesn't tolerate chaos, he doesn't beg for attention, and he doesn't break down when someone leaves. He simply keeps moving forward, because the mission comes first. And ironically, it's that level of commitment to something else that often makes her want to commit to you. When you're on your path, everything changes. You don't try to be attractive, you become attractive. You don't try to be respected, you command respect. And it's all because you've decided to live with intention, not impulse. The world bends to the man with a mission. And the woman who sees your fire will either rise to meet you, or fall away. Either way, you stay on course. Because purpose is your compass, and once you lock onto it, everything else starts falling into place. Scarcity creates value. The less available something is, the more people want it. This principle applies to gold, art, and time, but it also applies to people. When you are constantly accessible, always eager to respond, always ready to give your attention, you become common. You become predictable. And predictability kills attraction. A man who is everywhere, all the time, for everyone, especially for one woman, quickly becomes background noise. But a man who is selective, intentional, and hard to reach, he becomes unforgettable. It's not about playing games. It's about understanding human psychology. People value what they can't easily have. And when a man respects his time, protects his energy, and doesn't hand himself out like a discount product, people notice. Especially women. She doesn't admire you because you're always available. She admires you because you have a life, a purpose, a focus. And when you carve out a space for her in that focused life, it feels earned. It feels special. That's when she starts to value your presence more, because it's not something she can take for granted. Most men give too much too fast. They respond instantly, they cancel plans for her, they rearrange their priorities at the first sign of attention. In doing so, they unknowingly communicate this: my time isn't that important. My mission can wait. You come first. And while that might sound romantic in movies, in real life it signals weakness. It shows a lack of boundaries. And boundaries are what create respect. When you have limits, people take you seriously. When you don't, they walk all over you. Scarcity makes her think. It makes her wonder what's taking your attention, what's holding your focus, what you're doing when you're not texting her back. That curiosity builds emotional investment. It keeps her on her toes. But more importantly, it puts the frame back in your hands. You become the one choosing, not chasing. That doesn't mean you ignore her. It means you don't revolve your life around her. You make her part of your world, not the center of it. A man who understands the power of scarcity doesn't beg for time, attention, or affection. He gives it sparingly, with purpose. And because it's rare, it's appreciated. You don't need to disappear or be cold, you just need to stop being always available. You need to live a life so full that people feel lucky to be part of it. That's where your value grows. That's where your presence becomes something she craves, not something she expects. When you withhold your attention, not out of manipulation, but out of self-respect, you start to control the frame. You shift the energy. You create contrast. And that contrast is where desire is born. The mind naturally obsesses over what it doesn't fully understand and doesn't completely possess. So give her something to wonder about. Give her a reason to pursue you. Because the man who isn't always there is the man who's always remembered. Influence is greater than control. Control is force, it demands obedience, it pushes, it pressures. Influence, on the other hand, is silent power. It pulls. It inspires. It leads without needing to dominate. When a man chases control in a relationship, he operates from fear. He fears losing her, so he tries to dictate her actions. He fears rejection, so he monitors her behavior. He fears abandonment, so he tries to trap her with rules, ultimatums, and expectations. But control always backfires. It breeds resistance, resentment, and rebellion. No one wants to be controlled, especially not a woman. She may comply for a moment, but inside she starts pulling away the moment she feels her freedom being threatened. Influence, though, is completely different. Influence comes from the inside out. It's not about controlling what she does, it's about becoming the kind of man who naturally affects how she thinks and feels. A man with influence doesn't need to demand loyalty, because his presence inspires it. He doesn't need to control her time, because she wants to give it to him. That's the power of influence, it works without force. It leaves room for choice, and that choice creates something real. You influence someone when you live with strength and conviction. When your actions align with your words. When you set standards, not to trap her, but to lead yourself. A woman watches your life more than she listens to your words. If you live with purpose, direction, and emotional discipline, she starts to feel that being near you makes her better. That's when influence takes root. It's not about manipulating her emotions. It's about being a man who makes her want to rise. And when she wants to rise for you, not because she has to, but because she's drawn to. There's no need for control. The man who has influence understands timing, patience, and presence. He knows when to speak and when to stay silent. He doesn't interrupt her thoughts, he plants seeds in them. He leads through example, not demand. And the impact is deeper, longer lasting. A controlled woman may obey while you're near, but she'll rebel the moment you're gone. An influenced woman will think about you even in your absence. Your voice echoes in her mind, not because you forced her to listen, but because you lived in a way that earned her attention. Control is temporary. It creates tension, not trust. It may get short-term results, but it costs long-term respect. Influence, however, is earned through character. It's built over time. And once you have it, it can't be faked, and it can't be stolen. That's the kind of power that lasts, the power that doesn't require chasing or demanding. It's quiet, it's steady, and it makes her feel free even as she leans closer. Because the man who knows how to influence doesn't need to control. He simply becomes someone she chooses, over and over again, not because she has to, but because she wants to. Real power over any woman isn't about control, manipulation, or dominance. It's about becoming a man she naturally gravitates toward, a man who stands so firmly in his purpose, his values, and his self-mastery that she feels both challenged and safe in his presence. When you stop chasing and start building, when you lead yourself before trying to lead anyone else, when you speak less and move with quiet conviction, that's when you stop being an option and become a force. Power is not in forcing her to submit. It's in becoming the man she wants to follow. So don't waste your energy trying to win her over. Win yourself first. Master your mind, own your time, protect your peace, and she'll feel it. She'll see it. And she'll know, this is a man unlike any other. Gain power not by holding her down, but by rising so high that she either rises with you, or watches you disappear into the horizon. That's how you gain power over any woman, by having power over yourself.